Welcome to the third dimension. The normalization of relations between Saudi Arabia and Iran has provided welcome momentum towards peace in Yemen. But resolving the regional dimension of the conflict should not come at the expense of inclusive intra-Yemeni negotiations under the United Nations auspices. There have also been direct Saudi-Houthi talks culminating a recent in-person meeting in Sanaa to negotiate a settlement. Well-informed sources reported that the deal includes a full Saudi withdrawal in exchange for a permanent Houthi-Saudi ceasefire, a large-scale prisoner exchange, reopening of oil exports from Yemen, and a Houthi commitment to rejoin the United Nations mediated political talks. According to some experts, the last point will be the hardest to achieve, considering the complex internal dynamics that underpin the conflict. This means a deal between regional powers, while welcome, will not automatically deliver a sustainable settlement for Yemen. To discuss this topic, join me from Manama in Bahrain, Meisaء Shujaa الدين. Meisaء is a senior researcher at Sanaa Center for Strategic Studies. Her writings and analyses have features in different media platforms. Welcome to the third dimension, Meisaء.
Thank you.
If I may start with a quick look at the political landscape in Yemen and the state of affairs in terms of regional and international diplomacy, Meisaء. You know that Grumberg was in Sanaa and then in Aden. He then moved to Saudi Arabia and currently in UAE. Linder King concluded a tour in the region, and just half an hour ago he was giving his briefing on the tour. Okay. Also importantly, the U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan was in Riyadh, also discussing Yemen with the Saudi Crown Prince. Okay. The White House commented on this as significant progress made in the Yemeni file. Okay, how would you perceive all these international and regional efforts, Meisaء?
There is no doubt there is a determination to end this war, and this determination is to end the war by its regional level, not local level. And all of these negotiations and visits, it's for ending the Saudi military intervention in Yemen, not to end the Yemeni war in its complexity and its different levels. So I think the UN rule has become very limited after the Saudis started to directly negotiate with the Houthis. So it's become just to cover the legitimacy for this. For the results of this negotiation at some point. The Americans always, they look to this war from the Saudi perspective because they are friends to the Saudis, and they are the essential provider of the weapons for the Saudis. So it was, and at some point, the relation with Saudi Arabia, it was one of the issues, disagreement issues between the Republicans and the Democrats. So, and the Yemeni war emerged in this context, the Saudi context, not the Yemeni war. So they want desperately to end the Saudi intervention because it's for them, this war is just a headache. But they don't care. No one, until now, no one cares to end this war in its local levels, which is more complicated, which is more difficult than the regional one.
Okay, so your point again, Meisaء, is that even international diplomacy, in a way, backs Saudi Arabia to get what we call an exit from this conflict. Yes?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Now, of course, Meisaء, you followed with me and all Yemenis followed the Saudi visit to Sanaa last month on the 9th of April, okay? And according to observers, it was the first direct face-to-face talks between the Houthis and Saudis on a Yemeni soil in Sanaa, because they talked previously in Bahrain, okay? So how would you evaluate, my question, how would you evaluate such a Saudi step?
It is very significant. First of all, I'd like to clarify that it is not the first negotiation between the Saudis and the Houthis. There were many negotiation rounds.
I said on a Yemeni soil, Misa. On a Yemeni soil, it was in Sanaa.
Okay. I just say that the significance here is in Sanaa. And the significance here when it is in Sanaa, that the Saudis, they want to clarify that we are very, or they want to stress, they are very keen to end the war and to do many things to end this war. So they do everything they can do, because even if this negotiation fell, at this point, the Saudis, they did all the job they can do. So no one will blame them. This is very important for the Saudis because they want to end this time, or to end that period of using Yemen war as a tool to target their reputation on the international level. So it is very important for the Saudis as a BR, as a country that is trying to promote themselves as a regional economic power, and a power that seeks stability in the region, that they make all the options and they go to everywhere to end this war. And definitely for the Houthis, it's very symbolic and it's very important for them to show that it is a kind of recognition, and it's always the recognition is always a Houthi demand. They want the world to behave, to deal with them as a state to state, while they are not controlling all of Yemen. And definitely no one can recognize them at this stage. No one can recognize them as a state unless they are going to share powers with other Yemeni political parties. But they don't want that. They don't want to share power, but at the same time, they want to be recognized as a state. So they think, or they believe that this visit, it is a kind of recognition that they seek.
Okay. So one Western diplomat, Meisaء, commented on the Houthi-Saudi talks. He said to the International Crisis Group, he said, Saudis are running the show and we are, that means the Western countries, we are just silent spectators. How far this statement is reflected in reality?
It could be true that the Saudis, they like to, first of all, after the Saudi-Iranian talks, this paved the way for the Saudis to go alone in this direction, regardless of the UN and definitely other Western countries, because now they are dealing with the Houthis from the Iranian and Omani channels, which paved this way, which paved this path between the Saudis and the Houthis, so they don't feel that they need the Western countries or the UN as a channel between them and the Houthis. And definitely the Iranian and Omanis are much more effective. So I do feel it is something, this sentence is odd or is not realistic. I think it could be very true.
Okay. So again, this kind of direct talks, Meisaء, was reflected on the Presidential Leadership Council. In a way, it undermined the PLC and in fact all the Houthi factions camp. Okay? And in one of your previous articles, Meysa, you wrote when this Presidential Leadership Council was formed, you entitled that article by what we call avoiding the fate of the powerless president. Okay? Okay. Now it seems we are seeing a powerless Presidential Leadership Council and not a powerless president. How do you react?
Yeah, this article, it was like a recommendation that at the very beginning, that if Rashad in particular,
yes,
he's the president of the PLC, if he wants to avoid the destiny of Hadi as a powerless president, so he should do this and this. And definitely, I think he went in a path which is much worse than Hadi, and and now he is even weaker, in a weaker position than Hadi, much weaker. But I have to say, this weak PLC doesn't mean that all the members of the PLC are weak. For example, Aidarus Zabidi, he has his stand, and now he formed another council to for an independent southern state, and he talked with him two, I think,
yes,
two of the PLC members. The problem here that everyone has his ground. I mean, for example, almost except Rashad al-Alimi. For example, Tariq, he's in the western coast. Sultan al-Arada is in Marib. Abdullah al-Alimi is supported by a big party, which is Islah Party, the STC, Aidarus al-Zabidi. There is Faraj al-Bahsini, who represent Hadramaut. So, except Rashad, who represent the president, and which we can say that he gained his power from his position as a president. If we talk about a state institution, a normal state institution. But because now we don't talk about the state institution that, or the state that mobilized the army or the military power. So it's a very strange situation, I can say, or it's very unusual. And Rashad al-Alimi, he showed that he can face, he always, he used to live in a gray area. So he avoided facing the problems that he has. The era, which was heavy. I can't deny that. But he failed in facing this problems. He failed in solving it because he doesn't want to take firm position towards any issue. He just wants to navigate. That's it. Without solving any problem. So it's very normal that after 1 year of establishing or of forming this PLC, that he's now a powerless president. He's the weakest president that Yemen has ever witnessed. And he has no power, actually. And he lives in Aden with permission of Aidarus Zabidi. And he knows that, and he accepts.
Okay. So, but this kind of weakness, Meysa, gives also a strength to the Houthis that they claim they do not have what we call a counterpart to be their rivalry on peace. They even impose on Saudi Arabia that they do not want even to sign with the PLC. Yes?
Sure. As I said, they want to be recognized as a state, as the only people who represent Yemen, and always their discourse emphasize on this concept that we are the only Yemenis, and the other, they are just puppets in hands of the Saudis or the Emiratis. So this is the case. It's part of their legitimacy in this war and part of their legitimacy in ruling their area, the area that they are already ruling or they are already controlling. So this is part. The second part, it's from the very beginning, the fragmentation in the anti-Houthi camp is the reason for the Houthi. It's the reason that lie behind the Houthi power.
Yeah.
Because the Houthi is not that strong as much as their enemies are very weak.
True.
Because they are fragmented, they are divided, sometimes they are even powerless. But sometimes, from time to time, the Houthis, they say, or some Houthis, they say that they are ready to negotiate it with the southern only.
Yeah.
So I feel that the Houthis, they don't mind to divide in Yemen, and they become representative of the north of Yemen. But until now, they claim they are with their unity, and they are not going to negotiate it with anyone because the other party is just controlled by the Saudis and the Emiratis. So it's better to negotiate with the Saudis and the Emirati directly. And it's, as I said earlier, that it is part of what they believe. It is part of their legitimacy, of their legitimacy, why they fought this war, and of their legitimacy that they are now the rulers of part of Yemen.
Okay. Now, Maisaء, you talked about the strength of the Houthis, okay, but recent reports from Sanaa now, they talk about what we call differences between different wings within the Houthi movement. If I want to clarify that, the Sada wing and the Sanaa wing, okay, the gap between them is a bit widening, and perhaps you must have seen the Houthi members who received the Saudi delegation in Sanaa. I think if not all of the Houthi members, majority of them belong to Sada, you see. This has now created a kind of what we call a gap between Houthi wings and the rivalry among them. How do you comment on this?
There is no way Sanaa wing, actually. Sanaa wing is just technocrat. They are powerless. They don't have any option except they can work with the Houthis and having some benefits from them, like some positions, some money, but nothing more than this. But deeply they know, and they are sure that they don't have a place in the Houthi state, a real place, a place that they can take decisions, because it's always a Sada. It's always a Sada movement. And Abdul Malik al-Houthi don't trust anyone except those people who stood with him during Sada wars. And most of them are from Sada, or all of them almost. So I don't think it is a conflict that really can threaten the Houthi unity, because this Sanaa wing, what you call Sanaa wing, they are powerless. They have nothing. They can't threaten the Houthi. There are conflicts and some conflicts between them, and it is still something insignificant that much. I mean, it is conflicts on power, on money between some Houthi members, but it's not ideological conflict. It's not a conflict on leadership. It's still the status of Abdul Malik al-Houthi as an absolute leader for this group is something unquestionable. And he's the one who defining all of the conflicts without, and no one can question his decisions. So I don't think there is divisions between Houthis that we can say that it's really threatening the group, and I can't fragment the group or making them weaker or something like that.
Okay. Now, if you said if Abdul Malik does not accept even people within his own movement, Maisaء, and this brings me to the last question of this interview, okay? How can we expect then that Houthis can be committed to peace and are ready to share power in the end?
Definitely, they are not ready to share power. I think the problem here is the Houthi ideology that believe in divine rule. And I think after killing Saleh, after they killed Saleh, and by the end of in December 2017, they took, after that, they felt that they overcome all the obstacles after Saleh. They faced some tribal uprisings here and there. But after they succeeded in overcoming this uprisings, or they felt that they are strong enough to control this area from Yemen without supporting anyone, or without sharing power. And this is better for them to implement their vision. So now they don't want to share power. It's I think this option is no more. It is their option, and they don't care even to share power with them. It's better for them to implement their vision in this area, part of Yemen, instead of controlling all of Yemen without implementing their vision and sharing power with the others. So they want to raise up a generation that believe in their vision, they believe in their ideology in Yemen, and reshaping the Yemeni society in a way that can make them ruler for Yemen for coming decades. And this for them is much better than sharing power with other, and the headache of sharing power and all of this.
Okay. So with that remark, we come to the end of this interview, Meissaء. Thank you so much for your time and expertise, and thank you for talking to Yemen Today TV.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
That's all for this time. See you next week with a new edition of The Third Dimension.